Welcome back to Hot Flashes and Cool Topics podcast. Today we are talking to actress, producer, and new podcaster, Daphne Zuniga. Welcome to the show.
Thank you guys. I'm so happy to be here.
We're thrilled that you could join us, and there's so much to talk about. We had such a good time with Courtney Thorne-Smith as well, but there's a lot to talk to you about. Number one, I wanted to start with how's the podcast going? What's it like? How'd it come about? What's going on with it?
Well, it's going great. I mean, I can't believe it's an actual sort of job to meet with these two people that I really like, but I'm also getting to know because we didn't stay in direct contact and have these friendships right after Melrose Place, Courtney Thorne-Smith and Laura Leighton, because everyone went their own directions and had careers to build and families to have and stuff. So um though we did stay in touch with everyone, this has been really cool to get to know them and to appreciate them now, who they are now, as we go back and look at the episodes of Melrose Place where, like, Courtney's always going like, God, I'm a baby. We're so young. Um, and yeah, it does feel like another life because it's been all these, you know, 30 something years.
I know.
So yeah, it's another time of life, but it's great because for me anyway, I think for all of us, you become an audience member because you're so far removed. Courtney doesn't even remember some of her scenes. We haven't even come to me. I come in episode 15, so we've just started. You guys are veterans at this point. We're just starting. You probably give us tips.
Yeah.
Um, but so we're loving it. And it came to be Laura and I had talked about it. We'd actually talked with someone a couple years ago. Um, and then we got this text out of the blue that kind of, we didn't have another meeting after we had met on it. And then we got this text out of the blue from Courtney saying, my friend had a dream that we're doing a podcast. Why aren't we doing a Melrose podcast? And we're both like, yes, we'd love it. So it just took that kind of like inspired moment for this new thought, new idea for us to act on it, which we did. And it's been great. I've worked with this iHeart team before when I was a guest on the One Tree Hill podcast, Drama Queens, which my other castmates do. So, and I did a live episode, a live event. You said you guys had done some of those. They did one in New York I was a part of. So I called them up, the iHeart radio producers, and they loved the idea.
Oh, I love rewatchable podcasts. I just, especially, well, I watched Melrose all the time. When I was a new mom, and I told Courtney the same thing, and my husband traveled, and I had a baby, and it's like, okay, Wednesday night, it was 90210 in Melrose Place, and I watched it. But I love listening to the rewatchables just because it takes you back to that time, and then I want to go back and I want to see that episode again. Have you had a lot of response from people just saying, hey, or what has the response been like?
Yes, people came out right out of the gate, just like, oh my God, finally, we can talk about it again and revisit it. And then we look at all of our comments, and our producer, who has her own Instagram account, Still the Place. And then you have me, Daphne Zuniga, and Laura Leighton, for real, is Laura's, but Courtney is not on social media, and we're bound to get her on. Good news, just a little update, inside update. Last time we recorded, she said, I'm talking to a social media person. I think I can do it in a positive way, in a feel good way, and it's not like a whole gutter of negativity, which it's all of it is what it is. So it's good
Right,
to
right.
put your
Just she
focus.
just puts her dog up, Georgie, she'll be fine. So,
Oh yeah, you met Georgia.
yeah,
Yeah.
we met Georgie. Yeah.
But social media is a blessing and a curse. It opens the door for a lot of negativity, but it
Yeah.
also, like she said, can be a positive platform. It's just you're going to get all kinds of people responding.
And you have to have a strong sense. Courtney has a strong sense of boundaries. That's big for her, and which um you need on social media. You have to go like swipe, block, block,
Right.
block. Like that's a thing for a reason, because it's your universe, it's your world, and you get to curate what you want into your mind and your eyes and your heart, in my opinion. So if you're going to go looking around, you're going to find what you find in the world, only it's all there on your phone. So it is a little daunting. I totally understand
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
But
I
I'm
was
glad
okay.
because so far it's just been the three of us. And I think that she'll get a lot of followers. I think she has a lot of great things to say and share. And she has a podcast to promote. So
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
what has social media been like for you? What's your experience with it?
I was very tentative. I was on the set of One Tree Hill about, I don't know, 12, 14 years ago. And back in my day, we would sit on chairs like these behind me, a director's chair, or cast chair, and we'd play backgammon or we'd chat or read our books or knit or whatever. And I was sitting in a circle with this cast, and everyone was like this.
On their
Yeah.
phones.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, and then I would hear these gasps and things. And I was like, what are you doing? So Sophia said, let me show you. And Sophia was very early on already in fights with her fans, or non-fans. So she's very strong. She's very opinionated, very strong, and she just can digest this stuff, and also with strong boundaries. There are settings now for a good reason. So she uses them. But I'm like, okay, set me up. And she did. And I was like, who are these people? Like, why are they saying things about me and to me? Who are you? Total strangers. So it was very weird because it used to be there was like this a veil, a curtain, and not just anyone could come into your world. And now they can. So I think all of us have to develop other senses, other tools for those boundaries, and also take responsibility for, what I'm doing with my time and what I'm letting into my brain and there's things that I've realized I can lose an hour on it just out of curiosity. And then the algorithm loves that. So then the algorithm just throws it at you tenfold. So now I'm like, you know what? I never knew this before. Do I have to know it now? Do I have to know how to make a pumpkin spice with the wreath, and then this disaster and that? I mean, it's all of it.
Yeah.
That's like, so, and it's all at your face. So I just feel like for now, um, I'm definitely more selective. And, in the past, I've used it as a platform for causes. Right now, I'm doing a lot of just podcast stuff, but I'm like a personable person, and I have to know that about myself and not let too much in because it affects me. And,
Mhm.
and these are strangers. We're all
Right.
strangers and yet I know people have developed great friendships online. So it's all
It
of it.
is hard. It's like this shield, and then sometimes, people out of nowhere can be very mean, and then but then there's some that could be very nice. And I'm always the concerned one because I actually saw your Instagram, and I'm like, oh no, is she in North Carolina? Is she okay with all the rain and everything? And I was like, I hope
Yeah.
she's okay.
I left just in time, but I have a friend's daughter who's at the University of Asheville. So
Oh,
Oh, is she
I
okay?
just texted her this morning. How's she going? She said it's been horrible and she's going to work on getting out today, but they haven't had water, electricity, or Wi-Fi for days.
it's horrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
And that's what I mean. Like, it's good because we can get the word out, and then there will be funds that we can help with, and organizations of people on the ground or talk to people. But that's not,
That's
Yeah.
everyone
well,
Yeah.
knows it.
that's
Everyone
when
knows.
right, and
Mhm.
that's when it really can be beneficial and helpful. Do you think the way you react now to social media, how do you think you would have reacted when you were filming Melrose Place? Much younger, probably a little more vulnerable to comments?
Horrible. It would have been horrible. It would have been, yeah. Well, you just asking me that makes me think of the young people now.
Right.
I didn't have those defenses. First of all, people wouldn't say things to your face. They may think it, but they're not going to say it. And then they're not going to use this empowered position of being invisible and just lash things out because of what they're going through at that moment or those years, or that they're not taking care of their mental health and themselves. So, and also people project if it's a screen. I feel like it's easy to fill in the blanks as you're looking. That's why, you look at something and you may get envious or wish that your reality was different. Well, of course, the filters and all that, especially. But I think I would have been a freaking mess. I think it would have really crept in and messed with my mind. As it is, I was in therapy since 1987. So
Mhm.
hopefully I would have had guidance to, what they do now. You try to tell them to turn off and do these other activities and things like that. But it would have been very hard.
Yeah,
Very.
I really feel for the young people, the young actors today, and the privacy. It's just the privacy. Feel like, you've got to have some privacy. You have to have some of
Yeah.
it to yourself.
And the need and the pressure to uh, use it and exist on there and build your brand and get those followers. And it's exhausting just
It
thinking
is.
of it.
Mhm.
And it's a different world now because you are an actor. Your love is acting. So you're well known for that career, and social media is just a useful tool, but a lot of people are known for their social media. That
Yeah.
defines them. They have to constantly create content. And Bridget and I say that we really feel for the younger generation that thinks this is reality, this is life, this is what people are actually doing when you're seeing a minute of their whole day.
I mean, how many times of the three of us, and has anybody watching or listening seen a post by somebody and then before you know it, they're calling you or they're telling you that the fight they had with the family or their kids aren't or whatever their problems are, and then you're just like,
That's
You're
not
like, wait a
what is
second.
presented. That's
or
not
how
what's
many times
presented.
have I felt pressured to, like, I'm going to show,
Yeah,
and
It's
no one
true.
knows the inside the truth. There's still reality, which I feel like maybe that's a gift that we as women of our ages, and we're different ages. You guys are younger, but
not much. Not
have
much.
not much.
Not
Okay. So
much.
we're
We're
all in the same pool.
we're
Yeah.
57. We're happily
Yeah.
57. So.
I'm
Okay.
almost 57.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Colleen.
Bridget. I just aged you. She's 6
Teasing.
months younger. She's
I will be in
56.
December. No, it doesn't
I
matter.
totally forget. I assume when I age,
I
you do.
forget.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, you are fine. And then I age my husband because he's 10 months younger, so I just age him. So
He's
so
a
it all works out.
baby. You like the
Yeah,
younger ones, huh?
I'm a cougar. Yeah.
Never.
So, so speaking of husbands, you were married. Is it been about 2 years
No,
or how long?
Oh, it's been
2019, right?
5. We got married in
Oh, five.
2019. Yeah.
Okay, okay, 2019.
Yeah, I
Okay.
heard Courtney say I was a newlywed. I'm like,
No, you're not. Okay.
I feel like one.
Well, good for you.
We've
Yay.
actually been together though for almost 17 years.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
met him, as we were saying before. I met him right when I met two people at the same time. I met the Tasmanian devil, also known as perimenopause. Totally new, out of the blue. I was feeling great. I was just started being 40 and I was feeling amazing. I finally felt the confidence and the kind of just the not worrying about things. And I had energy and, I was getting all this attention at 40. So I think I look younger for my age. I'm 61. I'll be 62 next year. But still, you anyway, so I was feeling all that going along fine. And then suddenly, like, perimenopause, and I didn't know what it was. And I met David at the same time. So this
And
poor
he
man
stayed and he stayed.
stayed.
Yeah, yes.
He should be canonized, this man. But I'll tell you what goes a long way. Uh, uh, Self accountability. So I mean, I'll tell you a story from the very beginning when I met him. You're not going to believe. Well, you will believe this because you've probably been through this. But I was introducing him to some friends. So we were long distance for 3 years. So he came out to LA. I said, I want you to meet two of my good friends. So we go to dinner. And at this point, I wasn't doing anything for my hormones. I didn't know. I was just my fabulous self, having met this new guy. So suddenly we're at dinner and he started annoying me completely, like saying the dumbest things. And I'm just like, Oh, sorry, because he's from the East Coast, sort of like prep schools, private schools, very traditional, cocktails at 5, your linens over here, the fork is this way, the knife face is this way, blah, blah, blah. And so he said something, I go, oh, well, yeah, if you're gonna be so proper, but where's your knife supposed to go? Like, that came out of my mouth in front of people at a restaurant. And I was ready for a fight. And I'm telling you this story, it's humorous afterwards, but and then I insulted my best friend who was sitting across from me. And I just said to her something so hurtful. And she looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, I'm gonna leave, Daphne. Makes me cry. So she left. And she left the restaurant, and I sat there for a second with my other best friend across from me and this new man next to me. And I said, I feel no remorse. Something's wrong. I was completely disconnected with the emotion that was coming through me. And I just went, something's wrong. And it was the hormones. I'm assuming like testosterone was go flying and the estrogen had dropped, because your estrogen is your compassion and your connection feeling hormone. So I said, I'm calling my doctor tomorrow. That was my first intro to it. And I did. And I emailed my friend, who is still one of my close friends. She
Oh,
totally said, and she hadn't been through it yet. So she didn't know what, but she just said, I understand that must be hard. I'm totally here. I get it. And tell me what your doctor says. Tell me when she gets your meds right.
yeah. Yeah.
But that's
So
Yeah.
that scares you because you're not behaving in a way that you even feel like I should feel really bad about this. And the testosterone rage is real. The personality changes, they're real. A lot of women feel like they're doing something personally wrong. They don't, it doesn't even go into their brain that it could be perimenopause, because that's just not something that women are educated enough on.
Right.
that's, yeah. So you guys are educated. You've done a lot of research, I didn't. So that I still to this day, now I'm postmenopausal, pretty damn sure. That was in my 40s. That was, like I said, 17 years ago. Um, my doctor put me on herbs first, and those worked for a while, kind of just mellowed me out, made me stay connected to who I was, what I was doing and saying, but then it started to not work. So I think my inner stuff was going stronger, assuming. And I've been doing bioidentical hormones, the
Hmm.
creams.
Yeah.
So ever since, and it feels great. Other than the one time she tried to up my testosterone and I almost punched out my mother. I was like, oh,
Oh no.
I just took
Yeah.
that tube and I threw it away. I can't,
Uh,
I mean, but
yeah.
I thought this is what men have in them, this testosterone stuff. It's
It can be scary. I mean, it could be
scary.
good. It could be great.
Yeah.
Properly dosed, properly dosed. And it's coming up in an episode or where we talk to someone if you get too much and what can happen, and
Yeah.
especially with pellets and all that scary stuff that it can't get out of your body. If you have the pellets, it's in your
Yeah.
body and it cannot get out until it kind of dissolves itself, and how
Yeah.
it could turn into extra estrogen that you don't need and everything
There's
like
just
that.
so many dangers
There
that
are, but
Mhm.
when you and I had the same experience. I didn't even know what perimenopause was when I was going through it.
Mhm.
I didn't know there was a word. I'd heard of menopause, and I
Mhm.
have 8 older sisters. I mean, I have 8.
Oh.
I do remember menopause when I have a sister that's 17 years older than me, and I remember when she was like 40 something, and I thought, "Ugh, why is she turning the air down? Is she just trying to get attention? What is she doing?" And boy, it came and got me. It karma came and got me. But it is something that you women don't even know. And Colleen and I, that's a goal we have, is we really want. Colleen always says we want our daughters to take it for granted that they already know about, that this is out there and they're going to have everything there for them to know about perimenopause and menopause, and just what to expect and what they can do about it and how they can
Yes.
advocate for
um
themselves.
Because hormones directly affect your feelings and therefore your behavior
Right.
sure.
completely.
Hmm.
So those moments, uh, that you're sobbing in a store, or you just feel that they're so uneven. It's like a roller coaster. That often, especially if the tears are coming and they feel more like waterworks, and then you think, what happened? What did something happen? And if there's nothing I can directly track to, this is in the past, I still do that, but it's not as crazy.
Mhm.
Uh, then I would think, okay, this is, hormonal.
Yeah.
Right.
And I thought Perry was worse. I don't know about I thought Perry was worse
Yeah.
than menopause and
We're both
postmenopause.
post,
We're
so
both post, yeah. So, and I
but
do hormones, and Colleen
I
hasn't
I
really
I
seen a
would if
need
I
for it.
needed it. I just don't
Right.
for me, it was
Really?
a lot of brain fog and anxiety, and I think I learned to compensate for those without even realizing that the option of, hormone therapy would have been probably better. But now I just feel like I've settled it. Like it's kind of settled into a process. But I'm curious, when you were going through that 17 years ago, that was pretty soon after the 2002 report came out on hormone therapy, and it was dangerous. And I'm really interested that you found a doctor that would still consider your feelings, your request. That's very unusual at the time. Was your
Mhm.
doctor hesitant at all?
She wasn't. First of all, she's a medical doctor, OB-GYN, and also on the California Board of Alternative Medicines, I think they called it. So she incredibly educated, but also very female knowledgeable and female friendly. So she didn't throw a ton, she said, of the hormones at me. And she did say that the bioidentical creams, just topical creams, are the safest. And it says right on there how much to, take or not. I've heard podcasts and I've heard people say there's still controversy, but I have naturally low estrogen. Whenever I get my labs every year, and I'm always low. So I'm not that worried as long as I use my estrogen with progesterone. I think that's the right. Is that you're
That's
nodding?
right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
If you have a uterus, yes, that's
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think other women have more estrogen naturally. I've just always had low. I've never had, it's never come across as high, but with um, with my hormonal bioidentical creams, it comes out closer to normal.
Right.
So I think if you have too much is when there's chances of,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, and you have to watch for, especially with your uterine line and uterine cancer. You have to. That's why you have to have progesterone if you have a uterus. If you've had a hysterectomy, you don't need progesterone. And I also, yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, I take mine is a patch, but I've always heard transdermal or skin is or a patch is better. It doesn't pass through your liver, so that's always a good
Yeah.
one. Hmm.
And I love the way it makes progesterone. It's just like
Oh, the sleepy.
happy.
it's the
I
Yes.
just think it's such a,
relaxing.
Yeah.
yeah. People are like, oh, CBD this and CBD that. And I'm like, you mean progesterone? You mean, I just feel like I don't want to feel anything that's unnatural. I want to feel
Right.
like me. That's it.
Right.
I don't
Right.
want
Right.
to feel high. I don't want to feel like I don't have anxiety. I don't have, knock wood. I don't have, um, other sort of mental issues other than reality.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's enough, right?
That's
That's
enough. Yes. Plenty. Yes.
but I have it in my family lineage for sure. But I want to feel uh like me.
Mhm.
Sometimes I want the energy. If I feel like I'm low energy, I go, it's been like 4 or 5 days, a couple weeks in a row. What's going on? Am I eating enough this or that? But I don't want to feel like all the
Right.
time.
Yeah.
I need to
Yeah.
go hiking and starting new things. This is the other thing about being this age. We're well into the perimenopause, middle age story,
Right.
you guys and me. And so, there's a whole phase to this. When you first started, you're dealing with that stuff. Then there's a whole like, oh, I accept me which has felt wonderful. And I found my love, David, to go back to your original question.
Hey, this is
That's what
good.
happens all the time. We just start
Hey,
chatting and we go
that's
there.
all right.
Women.
That's
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
It's circular. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and we don't mind the sidetracking, right? Men are
Oh,
like,
no.
get to the point.
No. I love all the stories. I want to hear it all. Yeah,
Stories
I
are
love all the
great.
stories. Yeah.
What was it about David? Was it the timing? Do you think if you had met him 10 years before, would it have been the same outcome? Or do you think you were just more mature and looking
I
for
think
different
both.
things?
I think
Mm.
both. If I had met him 10 years before, absolutely, I would have not been attracted to him because he was facing me and all open and listening. And that meant intimacy. That meant, oh, what do I do with you? And I didn't know at that point. I had just started dealing, meditating, and in these long 9-day retreats and really dealing with a lot of my insecurities and shadow stuff and shame, all the good stuff that's buried down. Um, so that was starting to come up and get healed. And these big, horrible shames and embarrassments or um, feelings of loneliness and never fitting in and all this stuff kind of comes up from the past. And so then you shed light on it and then you embrace it, and so I met him after that. And when we met, he had raised a family and the marriage had been over for 4 or more years. Um, and so we had he's also 11 years older than I am. So we had different paths and he was at a different phase, but we both agreed on.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yay.
She's
This
just
is
Laura,
lighting
good.
up.
This
She's
is
Laura
good.
Leighton taught us this on our,
Oh, that's
she's
funny.
always going like this, but she'll go by accident like this.
And then it'll do that.
Yeah.
I love
Anyway,
that.
It's awesome.
thumbs up for David. We both were at a point in our life where I didn't need a man. I wasn't sure quite where he was going to fit, to complete me, to make my life fulfilled. I had that. I had a career and, financial was good and my girlfriends travel. And he didn't need me, certainly not an actress when he was living in the suburbs in Connecticut, it was completely different. We came from completely different lives, but so timing, yes, for sure. But I was ready. I remember being in my therapist's office and saying, I just feel ready for the right kind of person. Like I'm ready to bring on that adventure and not go after someone who's like facing the other way or isn't giving me all or things that felt safer when I was younger.
Yeah.
So, and I could feel, and she goes, I feel like you're ready too. You'll have it. You'll have it. So I just felt into the the desire for it wasn't like this longing and painful desire that I had in the past. Again, I was in my 50s and had relationships, a lot of them, but I felt different and I felt ready to welcome sort of the unknown and let's see. And so we were long distance for the first 3 years. And then I was just like, we got to be together. We needed to be together because it was kind of like not nurturing me or him, I think. So we embarked. He sold his house in Connecticut and the kids were out. He was waiting for those 3 years. His youngest was still at home. The other two were in college, the two girls, and the youngest was at home. And, but when he went off to college, David was really ready to move out of that family home. So then he was ready to move out here. And I was like, did I say just move on? Went to my therapist. I was like, quickly, like, what do we do? What do I do now? And so she met him. And to answer your other question, I think my therapist said, oh, he's good. He's good.
Oh. Oh.
And she had seen me for 25 years with ones that I thought were fantastic. And they were great. I loved being in love. Still love being in love. And I was with mostly good guys, but I couldn't see, I needed her point of view. She knew me intimately and she got a hit from him. And she said, he's so present. He's a grown up. He's a man. He can handle you. Bring it, bring it. And I have ever since. And so has he. And it's, there's something to be said for being more mature, having dealt with our own paths, been on our own paths, which have been completely different, and then coming together at this time in life. It's great. It's kind of like being young again,
Mhm.
but there's a maturity and responsibility for and with each other. So it's not like when I was young and just looking to them for everything to fill in all the holes and the blanks and the needs.
Right. I think that's really amazing too, because I feel like when I was younger, and I've been married for 33 years, I adore my husband. I'm lucky, but I also felt this pressure that, okay, this is the way life goes. You do this, you go to college, right after college, you get married. And I mean, I'm happy I married him, so he knows that.
But
But
you
I
have a lot
do,
of friends that did that
yeah,
path and it
did
didn't
that
work out.
path and it didn't work out. And I do feel like there's a lot of pressure on younger people. I feel like it's getting better. I mean, Colleen and I both have daughters that are, my daughter's 29, your daughter's 29 tomorrow, but
Tomorrow.
she is married. But my daughter did not feel that pressure. And so I'm really glad. And I think there's something to be said for you not doing that until you knew it was right. And so I think there is a relief until you knew it was going to be the right thing. And I mean, I have siblings that it happened to. They got married, followed that path that they thought they were supposed to follow, and it didn't end up. They
I
ended up
wonder
getting
if it
divorced.
was, I'll ask you guys, how long have you been married, Colleen? And when,
32 years. So
okay.
I dated I married my high school sweetheart.
Okay. I saw that. I was wondering if that was, well, you must have dated your high school too,
I
or
was, well, college. Yeah. So,
She got
yeah,
married earlier.
1 year. But yeah.
Guys, I always knew I wanted to act. And I started this when I flew out to LA. I was going to go to one of three colleges, New York, NYU, Carnegie Mellon, or UCLA. And I wanted to be in LA because that's where the thing was. The industry, entertainment business. So I always knew I wanted to do this. So I do feel like my partner throughout the years, my commitment in the early years has been uh, my career. I've had peers over the years who fell in love, got married, started a family, and um, I just didn't know how that was ever going to fit when I've got acting class and auditions. And I come from my parents split when I was 6, and I have one sister and I have a half brother. And so I didn't really have the model of a home, of, this kind of connected place where people all are. We moved a lot. So I think it's how we're modeled, like you're saying,
Yeah.
Bridget. But how I was modeled, how I was sort of conditioned really fit being an actor
Hmm.
because, I'd start to get jobs right away. And you're in Dallas for a month, you're in Spokane for a month, then I was here, then I was in New York City, then I was, you're just like that. And it just kept going.
Yeah.
So where where some people who were conditioned and saw it growing up found a partner. I didn't
Hmm.
really see that growing up, so I didn't even, that was sort of more, that was more scary for me than dealing with Hollywood at 19 and 20.
Wow. Wow.
Now,
And
yeah.
yeah.